As stackers, we have a lot of choices to make, and one of those choices is what size silver we choose. Most stackers believe that bigger bars are always going to be better because they have lower premiums. But what if the cheapest silver you can buy eventually becomes the hardest silver to sell? Today, I want to talk about 1 ounce rounds, 10-ounce bars, and kilo bars, and even some larger silver bars. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of each and some actual practical tips for some future considerations that many stackers never really think about. And then we'll take a look at the actual market prices to see what the numbers can tell us about today's market. Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. Before I get back to the video, I just want to say congratulations to Wayne Hurd for getting to my comment section in yesterday's video first. It really does help the channel out when all of you are racing to be first, so thank you so much for the support. When most people begin stacking silver, they naturally gravitate towards 1 ounce rounds. They're affordable and recognizable, they're easy to buy and easy to sell. However, as a stacker gains experience, many begin moving towards larger bars, 10-ounce bars, kilo bars, maybe even 100-ounce bars. And the reason is very simple. Larger bars generally allow you to acquire more silver for your money. And I'm going to say generally because it also depends on the market. The premium is often lower, and storage becomes easier, inventory becomes easier. Instead of storing 100 1-ounce individual rounds, you can accomplish the same thing by having a handful of bars. For someone building a long-term reserves, that efficiency is attractive. If your goal is simply accumulating ounces, larger bars can make a lot of sense. But every advantage comes with its trade-off. And I think many stackers focus heavily on accumulation and give very little thought to liquidation. One day you may want to sell. One day you may need to sell or trade it, or maybe your children that inherit your stack will need to sell or trade it. And when that day arises, the size of your silver may matter a lot. Let's start with 1 ounce rounds. The biggest advantage is flexibility. If I need to liquidate 5 ounces, I can sell just 5 ounces. If I need 20 ounces, I can sell just those 20 ounces. I remain in control. The buyer pool is enormous because almost anyone can afford a 1 ounce round. New stackers, collectors, and long-term stackers have always been buying 1 ounce rounds, and even a family member may be able to help you out by buying one of your 1 ounce rounds. The downside is storage and efficiency. 100 ounces in silver in 1 ounce rounds requires 100 individual pieces. Most likely in tubes or capsules. There's more counting involved, more organization, and typically slightly higher premiums. Again, I say typically, this is not always the case. But now let's move to 10-ounce bars. Personally, I think this is where many stackers find the sweet spot. A 10-ounce bar is large enough to reduce clutter and easier to store, it's easier to count, and it's a lot easier on inventory. 10-ounce bars remain affordable enough that large number of buyers can still purchase one. The downside is the reduction in flexibility. If you need to liquidate only a few ounces or maybe even 15 ounces, if you only have 10-ounce bars, you'll need to sell more silver than what you might have actually needed to sell. If you only have 10-ounce bars, then you are limited to groups of 10 ounces. Still, for many stackers, the 10-ounce bar strikes the balance between efficiency and liquidity. And then we have the 1 kilo bars. 1 kilogram is actually 32.15 troy ounces. And I'll be honest, kilo bars are just impressive. They provide excellent storage density, they consolidate a lot of silver into a manageable footprint, and they are often viewed as a serious stacker's product. The downside is that the buyer pool becomes much smaller. The larger the product becomes, the fewer people can afford it. That doesn't necessarily matter today, but it may matter more tomorrow. That brings us to a consideration that I rarely hear discussed: future value. Most people evaluate silver bars based on today's silver price. I think we should evaluate silver bars based on tomorrow's silver price. And let's imagine silver gets back to $100 an ounce. That's when bars like the 100-ounce silver bar suddenly becomes $10,000. That number becomes incredibly important, and it actually has nothing to do with you as a seller. Let's say you had a 100-ounce bar and you were trying to sell it to a shop after silver gets to $100. That $10,000 unit of silver won't necessarily require any IRS form for you to sell it. However, for the shop to sell it at a retail price would require a 1099 form if there was a buyer willing to buy it all in cash. So the dealers may eventually have a harder time selling those larger products. And if dealers have a harder time selling those products, they may begin offering less and less when purchasing them. In other words, today's liquidity might not be tomorrow's liquidity. In larger bars, that becomes more and more of a consideration. A kilo bar pushes this issue much further into the future. A kilo bar only contains 32.15 ounces of silver, so silver would need to be above $300 an ounce before a kilogram bar reached this similar issue. That's one reason why I believe kilo bars are more practical than 100-ounce bars for many stackers. If you are considering buying a 100-ounce bar, consider buying it right around the $100 per ounce area when it comes to silver spot price. That will incentivize the coin shop to give you a less premium in order to move the 100-ounce silver bar. You could even potentially buy it under spot to keep it under the $10,000. That way it'll actually move from their hand to yours. Keep in mind, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what you should do or should not do. I'm just telling you that if I was looking for a 100-ounce bar to add to my stack, that is when I would time it so that I spent the least amount of money over spot or near spot to buy and acquire that 100-ounce bar. Because you want to create as little of a spread as possible, getting it at a lower premium as soon as that issue becomes an issue will help maintain that lower spread. But for today's argument, I think the most practical size bars are 10-ounce bar and the 1 kilo bar. So we're going to go ahead and compare the actual prices from an online dealer to see what the market thinks about these two sizes and compare it to a 1-ounce round. At the time of recording this, silver spot price is $57.49 per ounce. A 1-ounce round is selling for $67.32 from the online dealer. That dealer is willing to buy it back at $43.86. The 10-ounce bar is $671.70, and they're willing to buy it back at $428.10. The 1 kilo bar is $2,117, which is about $68.05 per ounce, and their buyback is $1,426, which is approximately $45.78 per ounce. Okay, there's all the numbers, and they're on the screen for you. The biggest important part here is the spread. So the 1-ounce round has a $23.46 spread. The 10-ounce bar has a $24.36 spread per ounce, and the kilo bar has a $22.27 per ounce spread. Interestingly, the kilo bar has the smallest spread of these three products, which means it's the most efficient. It'll break even the fastest. But that doesn't automatically make it the best option. As you see, you're paying the most per ounce for the kilo bar in today's market. The cheapest product is not always the best, and the smallest spread is not always the best. The question is, what problem are you trying to solve? If your goal is maximum flexibility, then the 1-ounce round is difficult to beat. If your goal is balancing liquidity and efficiency, then the 10-ounce bar may be your sweet spot. But if your goal is maximizing storage efficiency while maintaining a reasonable liquidity, kilo bars deserve some consideration. For me, I don't think the answer is choosing one product. I think it's owning a mixture. Different products solve different problems. A reserve isn't just something we accumulate, it's something we may eventually spend, trade, or liquidate, or pass on to the next generation. Because of that, I don't think that it's just about buying the cheapest thing. I think it's more about what will be the easiest to use, what will be the easiest to inherit, and what will be the easiest to liquidate if circumstances change. But that's just my opinion, right? This is not financial advice. What do you think is the ideal size of silver? 1 ounce rounds, 10-ounce bars, or maybe kilo bars? Or are you going for that 100-ounce bar? Let me know down in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out josephsreserves.com for any merchandise, coffee mugs, zip-up bags, and even the It's Today Again coffee. Remember that you can always write me at my P.O. Box, and as always, if you like the video, go down and hit the like button, go into the comment section to start a conversation or continue one, subscribe if you haven't already, and share the video to anyone you think may like it. But most of all, thank you so much for watching, and just remember, every ounce adds up, so no matter how small, just keep stacking.